I want to learn more about that, about what that was like for you. but anyway, but she went on to be an internationally known writer and one of the great Texas voices for those who she had this wonderful. She would skewer the politicians, and she just had this wonderful wit and all. So there's a new documentary out on her called Ray's Hell: The Life and Times of Molly Ivins. So it's a very, very worthwhile documentary that just came out. But what we're doing is we're getting B-roll shots. So if we have to make an edit in the middle of the show, we can use this shot of you, as you're sitting there nodding, and then we'll do that, and then we'll switch around and we'll have you talk.
Okay.
And so, all right. Do we get enough of Simone? Good. God, you look wonderful on camera. This is
Your turn. Okay,
good. So tell me, did you do any singing or dancing
in my life?
Yeah. Or performing?
I did. I sang Jesus Loves Me when I was like 4 or 5 to my church. Singing and dancing, no, they were never part of my curricular outside of just goofing around, at home or with my teammates. But I do love singing, and I think I have, somebody described it as a choir voice. I was like, what is a choir voice? I love that. And they're like, well, they can drown you out. If you're in a choir, you have such a lovely voice that you sound good. You look good up there, but by yourself, you're just not. And I was like, I accept that. Absolutely. And no, we were a very athletic family. Sister ran track, brother ran track. I tried track, but swimming was I'm a fish out of water. I love the water. And so, and I've had the great support of my parents to just.
Did you do aquatics? Did you do what strokes?
Breaststroke all day, every day.
Wow, that's a powerful. That is a powerful.
Yes.
Piece of go. I mean, because it requires the feet and then the movement in that. I mean, there's just such a.
It's very beautiful to watch, just as much as it is to learn. And there's something very intimate about the water that I think I liked. Although I'm a very social being, and I think that's why I chose basketball. And we can get into that too. I had to make the choice between swimming and basketball. I'm such a team player, and I love community. I love interaction. I love human touch and just that aspect of it. Swimming is not so much of that. It's a very individualized sport. Although you're swimming for your team, who's in that water with you? Just you in your head, right? So there's a lot of conversations you have. It's a little lonely, if you will. There's this race, the 500. And it's not the longest race, but it was one of my longest races.
All right, we're rolling.
It's
Good.
25 laps.
Wow.
Yeah.
25 laps of the breaststroke.
Freestyle.
I mean, freestyle. That's wow.
So that was.
I'll tell you where I want to begin.
Yes.
Simone, I'm going into Kohl's because I am an Amazon return person. I love Amazon Prime. I love the fact that I can return things. So, and they have changed where you make your returns. You have to walk all the way through the store. So I walk all the way through, and I get to the back, and I turn the corner, and I see you standing there. 6'3" tall, my height, eye to eye, and I see you smiling at me, and I went, who is that? And so I walk up and I introduce myself, and we get our business, and we talk a little bit about it. I went, oh my God, this is a woman of substance.
Yes.
This is, you in just a few minutes, just that little minute that we had together, you told me that you, not only had you played NCAA Division I basketball, but you were also in the human potential movement that you had worked on, and I went, how am I going to get her on this show?
Right.
How am I going to do this? Because it's, how creepy is this? Hi, I'd like you to be on my television program, right? So I handed you my card, and I said, please look at Andrea Dawson, one of my favorite. and you agreed to be on. So I want
I
to thank you.
did.
I want to thank you for being.
Thanks, goodness.
Now, I want to. One of the things I know that when I was growing up, there was an awkwardness of adolescence.
Right.
How did you navigate the shoals of adolescence, being so tall?
Right.
Where were you? Were you in Round Rock?
Yes.
So
Yes.
could you describe that experience?
Absolutely. Not only was so Round Rock wasn't what it is now. Round Rock
Yeah.
is very fast moving. I mean, there's people who work, further south that
Sure.
travel through Round Rock. It's a very transitional little suburb. But when I was in Round Rock, we still had cows and deers that roamed freely.
And this was what year?
Early 2000s.
Isn't that fast how things are changing? Yes,
right, 20
and
years. And so coming up as a young woman, there wasn't a lot of, we didn't really have social media as we do now. So there wasn't a lot of people that I could aspire to be. I had the Serena Williams, the Lisa Leslies, the Candace Parkers,
Yep.
the females that were on the spotlight then. But coming up in adolescence, I really attributed my confidence at the time to my sport. I don't think if I had my athletic relationship, if I would have been where I am today with loving on my body just the way it is and being the tallest thing on 2 feet in middle school, right? And it's like at that time you're even taller than most of the boys that you have crushes on.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a thing. I will always love short boys just because everybody's just short, right? So it really took me, and I can thank my mom and my sister just kind of showcasing what it is to be a woman, growing into womanhood to help with that experience. But there was a point in which I used to wear the same size as my mom, shoe-wise.
Yeah.
Then I grew out of that. And then it was trying to find jeans that were long enough that didn't stop at my shins, right? Find sweaters that fit. And so very quickly I realized that I'm a little different than everybody else. I can't shop at the same places or, experience the same things as far as just because of my height.
Yeah. And you and how did you decide? I mean, so then you decided to go into the team sport of basketball rather than just, we were talking earlier about your aquatic career.
Yes.
And what was it about the team? Because I find it fascinating when I was telling you about Janla Hudney, the 5A basketball coach, who won all those championships, and her team took her on the 25th anniversary of one of their state championships. They took her on a cruise. And she said, y'all are all successful. What is it about it? And they all said is that we got an opportunity to participate as a team. And that women, that's what Title IX is, that women, if you participate as a team, it grows you in a way that if you've never done that.
Yes.
Did you have that?
Absolutely. My team was my family. And I'm a very family-oriented person. We grew up a family of 5, my mom, dad, sister, brother, and then me, in the middle. And I will always have that relationship with a unity, with a community. And then not only having something that gives to me, but able to give back to it. And so playing my role. And I love the role play that I was able to do with basketball. So transitioning from swimming to basketball.
Yeah.
Integrating myself into, okay, how can I not only help the team, but help us individually? So becoming a team captain, growing into that role, being able to understand the play not only for my position, but from everybody else's position, so that when we're in practice and so-and-so is messing up a little bit, I can say, hey, no, you're supposed to be over there versus here. And I think it helped not only the team, but also helped the coaches, because it's one less thing. They knew they could count on me to help with the integration and everybody buying into the goal, which is to win.
Yeah.
And have a good time.
And so as you were finishing college, and you studied the human potential movement, right? What did you study? What did you study in school?
Human development and family studies.
Okay, so as you're doing that, you have to make a decision as you're about to graduate. Am I going to go pro? Am I going to go to Europe? Am I going to go because women basketball is beginning to come in? What was going through your mind?
Living in the moment. I knew I had a window and an opportunity. It was something in the beginning of my senior season. I was shooting in the gym that summer because I didn't go home before senior season. I stayed put in Bloomington. And Des, the trainer at the time, or she was a manager at the time for the team, she would be in the, I said, hey, let's get in the gym, let's shoot. And we would shoot together for hours on end every day. And I said to her kind of randomly, I want to go pro. She just kind of was like, let's do it. And so I had kind of made up my mind before the season had even started. Again, because my window was short as far as all my injuries and just my age and just having the opportunity. Because after college, there is that expectation, college, job, livelihood, family, that kind of that transition. Because it's something I wanted, right? My career, my family, my window opportunity was right there in the middle. So it wasn't hard to make that decision, because life after basketball will always eventually come.
Yes.
So why not play until I can't play anymore, or till that decision's kind of, yeah, I'm through.
So what happened?
So what happened? I get to Germany. I tear my meniscus. Well,
what
shatter
is that?
it. It's a ligament.
Yeah.
I'm going to guesstimate. It's a ligament in my knee
that
I believe I had played my entire senior season at Indiana, 2014 with.
Ooh.
I get to Germany and played well on it, right? Get to Germany, and I flew in on a Thursday. We started a tournament on Friday. I get in the game. We're doing well. I go up for a rebound, come back down. I wasn't the same. So it's how I landed that really jacked me up. But bless the team, they had physicians there that were very helpful, and they went. I got an X-ray, and this was like after 2 or 3 months I had been there.
Sure.
Like, you don't have a meniscus. It's completely gone. That's why you're in so much pain. That's why it's uncomfortable. And the decision was kind of made up for me. I was like, okay.
How did you emotionally deal with that, the turn? Because I've talked with professional athletes, and making that turn to be able to say, okay, now, how am I going to, because there's an emotional component to it.
I think it happens over time. For me, it did, at least. I don't think it happens, this is it right now.
Oh, heavens, no.
Right. It happens, your body starts telling you before your mind does. And like I said, I've had not only my 3 knee injuries, but, bumps and bruises and ticks and tacks. And so
it's a physical game.
I was just watching some old stuff. I'm like, oh, that looked like that hurt. I probably had a bruise right after that play. In the moment, your adrenaline is so high, you don't even notice that stuff. But yeah, my mind was kind of already made up, or my body had already kind of told me it was almost time. And then so when the injury happened and I got back and had surgery, it was just like, okay.
Wow.
I'm okay with it.
One of the things that I'm interested in, a couple of things that I want to talk about the college career. One, I'm a little uncomfortable about talking about, but I need your help in talking me through, or whether or not it's a subject we want to discuss. In men's sports, the men, I know that in professional athletics and in college that there are men who are gay who play but they don't come out at all. But it's a different. It's becoming different we have Megan Rapinoe, and we have a number of women in college sports. There's more of an open conversation. So how does the team have this conversation about, how does it at the NCAA level?
NCAA, that's a really interesting outlook, because thinking back, of course, this is now, I'm going to age myself. This is not like 6 years ago.
You're going to age yourself? I'm 71, so don't give me you're going to age yourself.
That's
not, you're going to age yourself. All right, well, let's just.
Right. All numbers aside, it's been a minute, right? So the conversation in 2014 may not have looked like what it looked like sitting in.
What did it look like in 2014?
It didn't look like anything. I think for a lot of women who played rough sports, basketball, softball, flag football, whatever we wanted to play, sports in general. Yeah. You were always seen as a tomboy. You were always seen as one of the rough ones, right? And so I think identity in that, however you chose to play, however you chose to present yourself,
totally, people
were okay with it. They didn't really question it. It's just, that's just so and so being a tomboy. Or she loves basketball, so she wears basketball shorts, right? So when it came to sexual identity, I think female athletics, female athletes really felt in their own space when they were in the gym. In the moment, from start to finish, nothing else mattered but that game. Right? And so who they got to choose afterwards was up to them. So I think we have a lot more freedom as females than men do.
We've got to grow. That's why I'm hoping that the
yes.
women can lead. I hope the women can lead so that we can have a better conversation about it,
Right.
because it's not healthy.
Right.
I just don't think it's healthy to have closets are not good places to live.
And basketball is a very, I think of football. You spoke of a couple of players who
Yep.
were closeted or who recently
Yep.
came out. Basketball is a very what's the word I'm looking for? It's a very male-dominated
Yep.
sport. Very masculine, that's the word.
Yep.
Very masculine in the way that it's portrayed.
Yep.
And so you get a female who's playing masculine, that's okay. You get a male who's playing, aggressive, that's expected. But if
Yep.
they were to be anything else,
Yep.
that's seen as
Exactly, and so we
different.
still have a lot of that gender identity, and of course you studied that in school, and you
Yes.
studied a lot about and so now you're out past the career. You're having to
Yes.
say, okay, what happens next? Here you are. You decided you're going to come back. What happened?
Right. So I'll talk about what I do now.
Yeah.
I am a substance abuse counselor, so
Yeah.
I talk with those who are in this phase of coping through life through substances, which
Yeah.
I think we all are. We all have addictive properties. We're coping.
All of us.
Right. So there's a bit of relatability there. But what I have found is, as I'm having these conversations, so it's group therapy, right? So it's me as a facilitator with men and women who are having these conversations. What I'm finding is that the opportunity to be safe in just who we are and what we struggle with, we're limited. We talked about social media and how
Yeah.
we can get on Facebook and post about our lives, blah, blah, blah. We can do that, but there's not a really healthy reciprocation, of information.
There's not a closure of the feedback loop. It's a one way, and which is not communication. It's broadcasting.
Right. And so what I've learned and been able to create with my position at my current job is we can find closure. We can open up the Pandora's box because it's full of all kinds of crap, right?
Yep.
Life experiences, really. And we might not be able to get to all of it, but I'm going to help you through some, and then you have tools to move through the rest.
Right.
And hopefully you'll be able to have healthier relationships with those around you, but most importantly with yourself.
Isn't that interesting? Because I know that over my journey, Simone, is that I found that I will relate to the world in a very much of a how I relate to myself. So
Yes.
that the amount of peace that I have within myself will end up being the amount of peace I experience in the world.
Yes.
And the amount of tumult that there will be, I will end up encountering tumult where I will be, and I will take a substance, and it doesn't matter what it is, take the broad spectrum,
Absolutely.
food, drugs, distractions, anything that I will use it to attempt to medicate that hole that cannot be filled that's on the inside.
Right.
Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you this beforehand,
that?
but if I stop talking, what I'm saying is pick up on anything.
Oh, yeah.
Pick up on anything. So
Absolutely.
we're not. This is
No, you're
this
good,
is
you're
just
good.
a question, and
Yes.
so pick up on any part of it that
Whatever,
you find
okay.
interesting or not,
Absolutely.
or take it in another direction.
Take another direction. Well, I was going to pick up on the fact that I like to let them know, kind of right off the bat, that this is a place for growth, and you will get out what you put in.
Ugh.
And the challenge is how vulnerable are you willing to go? And I had another thought, but maybe it'll come back to me.
Sure.
But I think a lot of individuals really struggle with being okay in their vulnerability.
Yes.
Because we're never really given that space. Oh, stop crying. You're okay.
Yeah.
Pick yourself up and move on, right? That's what we're told because that's just the way the world has operated.
Yep.
And so sitting down and talking is oftentimes seen as a waste of time. Why go sit down and talk when you go take care of business, right? But it's, I think, again, kind of the collective mind, body, and soul. We kind of have to do a little bit of talking and a little bit of picking ourselves back up. It's got to be a good balance.
I love the idea of mind, body, and soul, and we have to bring them all along.
Yes.
Instead of just picking one and working on that. It has to be a full spectrum
Yes.
that you bring. That's what I love about. I love about the 12-step movement. I love the opportunities because knowing that life is unmanageable.
Yes.
And by manageable I can't manipulate other people, no matter how I do it, in order to fill whatever it is, that hole that is within me.
Absolutely. And it's funny. So right now I have a group full of men, and I love it. It's interesting.
So you have one woman and a group full of men?
Right.
Wow, the dynamics must be amazing.
And the woman is challenging them to be emotional.
Yeah.
Tell me your emotions. Well, I'm happy. Well, let's dig deeper. I give them this, I should have brought it with me. It's a feelings wheel. Found it on Google.
Yeah.
Feelings wheel. You just type it in. And it's basically this diagram where it's got in the middle happy, sad, a couple other like just generic, basic, I call them, emotions. Yeah. But then it trickles out into more specifics where you have, I feel disrespected. I feel irritated. I feel anything really. Yeah. And so the challenge is when they come in, if they expect anything from me, it's that I need them to be able to be specific. And so I say, and I use curse words with them, but I say, how the F do you expect anybody else to know how you're feeling if you're not willing to dig deep and understand how you're feeling?
Absolutely.
And it starts with communication. And so kind of back to your point of mind, body, and soul, identifying that you are more than just your job. Yes. You're more than just a father. Yep. You are more than just a man who works at this job on this day. You're more than just somebody who's on probation for something you did 4 or 5 years ago. And understanding kind of the past, like you said, past, present, and future, understanding that piece for yourself now, how is that going to benefit you for who you're choosing to become now and who you want to be? And so kind of the whole human dynamic of how do we grow? Well, we have to grow by first looking a little bit behind us.
Yes.
And in order to maximize on where we are now, trying to propel us forward.
How is being in these groups changing you? How are you learning? And because one thing I've learned, that the greatest teachers are the greatest learners.
Yes.
When we learn about ourselves and see so you have to apply all these things that you're telling them to do, or it's not.
Right? Yes. I consider myself a scientist, a researcher.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what the study of what I did in undergrad was. And I think a lot of it, Dennis, was finding my own coping mechanisms and discussing with myself, Simone, why is that happening? Why are you choosing to do that? Even with my own alcohol consumption, I question before I even indulge. I say, why are you taking this drink? Who are you drinking at today? And is it necessary? Could you just go do something else? And 9 times out of 10, I'll go binge watch something on Netflix. It's still a coping.
Exactly.
But I'm choosing not to emotionally drink, understanding the repercussions of that. If that becomes a pattern, it becomes a problem.
Brene Brown has a thing, a Post-it, a note in her pantry. She opens the door and it says, "Why are you here?"
That's perfect.
It's exactly what you're saying. I mean, where we did, and one of the things that so impresses me about what you're saying is that you're putting a space between the impulse and reacting to the impulse. That critical space.
And it's so crazy and interesting how life, but I reflect a lot of who I am today because of my athletic background. We had, because we are NCAA, Big Ten, Indiana University, we're in the smack dab middle of Bloomington, which is, such a beautiful, beautiful city, and fans and generations of individuals who have come up in that town.
It's Indiana University. Are you kidding me?
Indiana.
That's like basketball mecca.
Exactly. So there's a lot of eyes, a lot of not pressure, but eyes, and we're heavily watched. So when they did like have social media kind of do's and don'ts, they asked us to take that split second that you're talking about, and if we're questioning, if we have to take that split second, then it's not worth posting, right? Because we're 19 through 22, we're saying these stupid things, right? So we have to be aware of what we're putting out into the world, because that could come back against us. Yeah. So that simple learned lesson, when I was that age, it seems to be carrying over into what I do now. Taking that split second in life to say, what is this about? Where am I at? Yeah. How is this going to affect me tomorrow?
One of the things that I love about I love redemption stories. And that's what you're talking about in the group that you're doing, because it's a redemption story. We're redeeming for cleaning up the wreckage of our past, working through and growing and learning as human beings.
Right.
How does Simone DeLoach forgive herself when she screws up?
Wow. Ooh, work in progress. I'll tell you. I'll let
Oh,
you know.
I hope, if we meet in 20 years, I hope you say the same thing.
Absolutely.
That you'll say exactly the same
Work
thing.
in
Aren't
progress.
we all works in progress? So continue.
Yeah, I'm learning every day. And it's so much fun because I'm weird in that way where I can look at myself yesterday and be like, you did a really good job. I'm proud of you. Like I like what you
God,
did there.
that's wonderful.
You could have done that a little bit better,
Yeah.
but so I recently celebrated my 28th birthday.
28th?
28.
All right.
Aquarius, and so 2020, right? So now
Yep.
we're 10 years past, and I was 18 this time last year. And so I wrote a love letter to my 18-year-old self, and really kind of just let her know that what you did has been catastrophic to who I am sitting here today writing to you. And I thank you. I thank you for your mess ups. I thank you for that dumb thing you did. I thank you for being hurt and choosing to be hurt, because had you chosen to dismiss those feelings, we wouldn't be the empath that we are today. And so I don't know, I do more of that. I do more reflecting. But again, a work in progress.
That was that, and that is so. I'm learning that how do I treat myself
Yes.
as kindly as I would treat you? Because one of the things that as I worked around the world and interviewed people and did my communication coaching, I would always find that the common theme, the most common theme was I'm harder on myself
Yes.
than I am on anyone else. And so I keep thinking about that. Is there a value? I'm sure that there's a value for us. I mean, there's some people that really thrive on negative encouragement. Tell me I can't do it,
Yeah,
by
that's
God,
true.
and I'll just, but for the vast majority of people, that's not the way that they grow. That's not, or we grow best by saying, okay, come on, you can do it. I'm encouraging and helping and part. Yet inside, that critical voice is so loud.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you, have you ever, I mean, you've had many experiences with being under somebody or having a boss or having somebody lead you somewhere, right? So
Sure.
You've probably experienced a number of people who have done it a really crap, like they weren't the best.
Exactly.
They really weren't the best leaders.
Sure.
And they communicated very poorly. But you've probably also had people who were able to communicate very flawlessly and seem to
Beautifully.
understand you, right? So I think a lot of where we're understanding ourselves is by learned experience from those we see around us in our
Yes.
environment. And so we can only be what we continue to see and make changes. I know as a parent, I'm going to do some things differently, and that's just my choice. My parents did a great job, but I'm like, they could have, there's things that could have been better.
As we always do.
As we
because
try to.
because that's human life is messy.
Yeah.
It's not there is no manual, particular manual, and you got to get out there, and it only happens when you're doing and saying, I really could have. I'm sorry. I could have done that better.
Yes.
Let me give that another try. My wife and I have a deal where because I'm very performance oriented, and I'll say, let me do that line again. I really said that in a mean way,
awesome.
awful way. Let me do that line, and she's gracious enough and worked on herself enough that she's able to say, all right, do the line again. And I say the same, and I'll say the same line, but I'll say it with a gentle, and it completely changes the conversation.
Absolutely. That's great. I love that. How long have you guys been married?
24 years coming up in November.
Congratulations.
Yeah, my best
Huge.
friend.
Absolutely.
And that was the neat part. The neat part about that. So how have you seen Round Rock? How do you see the culture in in 2020 and beyond? How do you see that evolving, challenges, opportunities? how do you see it as a woman of color,
Yeah.
as a dynamic woman that the entire world is shifting and moving at this time? Can you give me some perspectives of what you're seeing from your perspective, Simone?
Absolutely. Austin, let's start there.
Yeah.
It's bleeding over into everything that surrounds it, up from all the way down to San Antonio, really.
Yep.
Up to Georgetown and
Yep.
and just it's just bleeding, and people are. I think somebody had told me there's about 1,000. And I'm probably misquoting this.
Sure.
There's about 1,000 people who move to Austin probably on a daily or weekly basis.
It's amazing. It's an extraordinary amount of people, and it doesn't matter however many, but it's an extraordinary amount of.
So in order in
Yep.
reflecting on change, we didn't have this type of traffic on a
Yep.
Saturday morning trying to get to an interview with Dennis. Like it just hasn't looked the same. But the beautiful part about it is that there's so many different types, and it's not just people coming from Nebraska or the Oregon, like
Yep.
the coast. They're coming from all over the country.
Yep.
And I think the change that could really blossom here is the opportunity to have culture within a really small, intimate community.
Mm-hmm.
I had the blessing of watching my youngest niece, for about a month, and so she's 2, and so there's not much you can do with a 2-year-old. There's certain time periods,
Sure.
right? So you have the early morning, you got to watch out for nap time, and then you got the evenings, right? You don't want to be out and about with a 2-year-old who's
Yep.
just wants to be sitting and playing. So we went to our local library. And there was one event in particular was we got to participate in a holiday, and I'm totally blanking, but it was
Yep.
Indian. It was
Sure.
an Indian holiday.
Yep.
And what the library had done has brought somebody into the community to share the dance, the music, and they had food laid out for us. And this is for like toddlers, so they don't really know what's going on. But as a parent or as a guardian, like, this is great. The kid is learning
Exposure.
yes, about this culture and about the beauty and the colors, and we're dancing around acting silly, and it's just like it humanizes us to say they're not other, we are us. It's not that they are over there.
Yep.
We're in this together. So I think that's what Round Rock is doing.
That's exactly. I love the idea because being on this planet,
Yeah.
and all of us being on the planet, I'm understanding at a very profound level that there is us,
Yes.
and us includes the planet.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
we are on this living
Yeah.
entity, and it's all and we're all in this together.
All of
And
it.
if we don't see that, if there's any ways that we can make that connection between one human being and another, and to see where are our commonalities, and really get a chance to be able to do that, boy, do I grow.
Yes.
I think about it like water. Okay, if I'm lifting water, it's going to take energy, right? If I'm going to lift water from this level to this level, it's going to take energy.
Right.
Well, it takes energy to go from that lizard brain to this anterior cingulate. It actually takes energy. I have to lift to do. Am I willing to do that work?
So how do people grow, right? We talked about the box.
Yep.
How do people grow? We have the medias, but it's a choice to watch certain things and
Sure.
be engaged and
Yep.
to be a part of the conversation. If people aren't willing to grow, how can we make the changes?
Yep. And we can, and that's where you're willing to do. That's where
Yeah.
you're willing to grow, and I love that. And I love that about being in the movement with these men as they're going through, and these men and women that are going through their addiction recovery. Has to be a profound thing on Simone.
It's heavy.
If you're willing, I mean,
Yeah.
because you're going to have to process that. How do you let go of it afterwards so that you're not carrying that yourself?
Leave work at work.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we ever do that.
No.
But it's a question of you process all the deep emotions that they're having to go through so that they
So I can perform again. So I can be that. I can have an open book for them when I return. As in my study, that's what they try to teach us, is the reality of coming back from a hard day of work and be able to perform again, and how even therapists need therapy.
Yes.
And so I've invested in myself.
All therapists need
Yes.
therapy. that's the point of it. Yeah.
And I think it boils down to humans need humans,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
And so in whatever capacity, whether it's my faith life, whether it's my athletic side, my dad's been like, get on the court. because there are times in which I get aggressive and I just want to throw some bows.
Absolutely.
I say, get on the court, get in the water, get your, again, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah.
Make sure you're taking care of yourself there, eating healthy, and so you can make the best decisions. And
So that when there's only 11 seconds left in the NIT and you have to sink that game-winning basket,
oh my gosh,
you do.
like it's nothing. It's so routine. And then you see how quickly I get back on defense. It's like, it was such an out-of-body moment that even looking back at it now, it's like, I don't even know if I knew what I was doing. It was just so natural and yeah, I love watching that. It's
Yeah,
great.
that sense. I mean, that must be something. Just that sense memory to be able
Yes.
to be able to do. That's one thing I never have been able to do was to get enough out of my head to let my body just
Right.
grow. And how did you do that? How did that?
Well, you've now do you understand like the mindfulness movement that's going on right
Yes.
now? That's
Are you
one,
kidding? That's everything that I need to do. Teach me more.
Yes, that's one way people are understanding that to have that sense of giving yourself time to have that window of decision making, like you said in the beginning. And so mindfulness is basically taking a moment to breathe, taking a moment to be in the right here and the right now. And so, yeah, exactly. You put on some music, you can listen to a podcast. It's just giving yourself permission to just be. And the more we practice, the more natural we're going to be at the ebbs and flows of every day, right?
Yeah.
Somebody cuts us off in traffic, our natural reaction is to react in whatever capacity.
Yeah.
But if we're allowed to give ourselves breathing practice, we can probably make a better and more decisive decision.
Yep.
So,
We done, Donna?
Yeah.
woo!
I was letting y'all wrap up.
Oh, should we?
No. I like having the conversation trail off as if people were leaving a coffee house and they were leaving a conversation.
Yes.
So that they just have this